everyone, welcome to my podcast. At this point, I don't know. And today, our special guest is Elijah. You can introduce yourself, plug yourself, do whatever you like.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Elijah. I go by Miracle Child. I am a content specialist at After Party, and I am the head of youth esports development at CEI Esports. What's up?
Big promo. Big promo. Okay, so basically, our topic today is going to be wait. First of all, at this point, how are you? Because the whole point of this podcast is to see where people are in life because no one really knows what's going on. And we're just doing it, as time goes by. So at this point, how are you?
Quarantine life. I'm heavily medicated as usual, just doing my thing.
Okay. Okay, so today's
For all my
topic,
stoners out there.
for all the stoners out there, yay. I am not one of them.
Kyrus is like, no.
I'm like, I don't even drink. I'm a minor. I still got a minor mindset. But yeah, so today's topic is double standards. Now, I can honestly say I probably don't have any like big experiences with double standards like outside of relationships, but I feel like they are very prevalent and I've been seeing it a lot. So, I felt like we should talk about it. How do you feel about double standards? Are you into the culture? Like, are you treating people differently based on certain things, even if it's the same situation?
Absolutely not. But I've definitely had that. I've been in that position as a professional.
Mm.
As a young black individual or just black in general, you have to work twice as hard just to get half of what a fair skinned individual would get, and I'm talking busting my ass.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's definitely a big double standard I've noticed throughout life.
So that's definitely one that I kind of can't relate to, and I'm just starting to relate to it because me and my friends, like a few months ago, we were having a conversation about because all the Black Lives Matter um, things that have been going on in this like past like 5 months that's like ridiculous tragedy after tragedy. So we were talking about it more and more, and I always felt like I hadn't been like discriminated against like for my race, like maybe I have, and then as we started to talk about it more and more, it was like, you're in this position, like you're a poor kid, you live in a projects, you're black. That's not just because that's how the tables are turned, that's how society is built up. And my friend had to
Hmm.
like help me understand that because I always said like when I was younger, if I didn't get an opportunity, I think it has to do with the fact that I went to like a pretty good school, like pretty good middle school, because middle school is where you really start to learn what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the fact I went to a pretty good middle school in my community, Brownsville, which is full of black people, full of minorities, that I never felt like I was being like done less for because of my race. I just felt like if I didn't get this or that, it's because I didn't do something right, not because look at you, you're in this community and opportunities
Hmm.
are not just like around because of your blackness.
Yeah, likewise. I went to school in Harlem my whole life, and during high school I transitioned to a school down in downtown Manhattan. I think we both did. We both went to school in downtown Manhattan, not too
Mm-hmm.
far from each other. And I started to notice those changes. And once I got into college is when those changes really stood out to me. you know and I went to school upstate, and I'll be real, white students definitely got preferential treatment. They did.
Yeah, I
They
remember when you
could.
first went, you were having like a little bit of troubles. It was weird for
Yeah,
you.
I actually almost got kicked out. My parents don't know to this day, but it was like I like to smoke weed, right?
Mhm.
I'm a computer science major. It's a lot of stress. So weed is my way of just chilling. And the white students on campus, even on my floor, would literally booth the entire floor,
Mm.
and the residential advisors, the RD, etc. They never did anything about it. But the second I came, to my dorm smelling like weed just a little bit, I was hit with a probation. So you
That
know,
really tells you the double standards going on there and
hmm
the racial
and
profiling.
yes, I told my RD straight up to his face. I was like, I'm not dumb, like, and it might be because they have something, on them, like, etc. I've, being in that environment, you learn that not everybody is squeaky clean. I'm
Mhm.
not here to snitch, but There's definitely people, around when I was around in that environment that weren't necessarily doing illegal things. And I'm talking about people who work for the school. You got to make your money somehow, right? So it really stood out to me, and I didn't take it any type of way. Coming from where I come from, I'm used to the bullshit, but being in that environment really showed me the first time what it means to be a black man on your own. Like I'm in the same state I grew up in.
Mm. It's so weird how completely different upstate is to these five boroughs. Like
Mm-hmm.
I will never really understand it, but like it was kind of eye opener during the election. You know, when you could zoom in on that map on Google and to see how
Yeah,
much of New York was red and how basically we're literally only a Democrat, a blue state because of the five boroughs and because of the
and
diversity here.
yeah, and to go into more detail on that, being upstate, you start realizing the area a little bit more, and it's very rural.
Mhm.
You have like Syracuse, Albany, Buffalo. You have all these major cities, and yeah, those are the major cities are usually blue areas. But once you
And
get into the rural
Rochester.
areas, you get Rochester as well, a blue area. But once you start to get more into the rural suburban areas of upstate New York, you start to see the way money operates and things of that nature. So it only makes sense to be a Republican area.
Yeah.
And if you have to be very introspective when you look at it that way, because the cities we live in filled by millions of people, these towns only have a couple hundred. So you can't necessarily operate within the same democratic lines you want to. That's why republicanism is also very much needed in America for the rural people, because small businesses get the profit. You don't have to rely on major businesses to provide all of the services that
Mhm.
you know a small business couldn't. And that's why a lot of major businesses work with Democrats, because they can fund and service large portions of people, and those are usually democratic areas.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know I got a little deep there, but like that's really why upstate's much more red, because they have to rely on their communities much more, and that could definitely change over the next couple of years as New York, the state in general has been trying to make everyone affluent. They're no longer just looking at the city and relying on the city for revenue. And you're starting like going upstate, when I went up there, the state is operating more in the SUNY schools. They want people coming out with agriculture degrees, um, anything that is related to hospitality will make you money, nursing, HVAC, whatever.
Mhm.
And what I've noticed is that New York is slowly and slowly becoming more reliant on its own economy.
I
And
say
that's
that
something that
all
a
the
lot of
time.
states can't do, you know?
This is like a whole different world outside of the rest of the USA. It's
Yeah,
I
it's
I've
almost like
learned
its own
that.
country.
Yeah, I learned that the most when I'm trying to like move forward in life. So I'm considering like when how much I need to save, when I'm gonna start thinking about moving, things like that. And then I'm checking rent, and it's ridiculous. Like no
Mhm.
other state has this. Even like the only place close to like New York City economy is obviously California and like LA and stuff, but nothing compares to this. This is like a whole
Yeah,
different world.
it's ridiculous how much the rent costs for like this room. If this were to be in the city, this is a $1,200 room.
Yeah, no,
You know,
there's no like studios really. That's you will never find a studio. Like even in New York City, it could be like a cubicle. You could never find a studio that's less than 1,000.
hmm
One bedrooms are like 2,000 these days, depending on where you are. It's just a lot. Okay, let's get up politics and
it's too much
economy.
money, man. It
It's
kills me because it's like
disgusting.
I wanted to move out like months ago,
Mm.
but the only places I could really move to are like Texas and stuff like that.
I mean, you could always go more upstate. It'll be a little cheaper, but not
I
like
gotta get out
upstate,
of New
upstate.
York.
I mean, like I feel that too. I don't want to stay in New York all my life, but I feel like if you're starting out and you want to be far, but like you kind of need New York City for work purposes, I think places like Yonkers, maybe, like to settle there for a while, or New Rochelle, even though Yonkers is ghetto.
Westchester is just as expensive as the city. I live in Westchester,
Mm.
so I thought that it was cheaper. But believe it or not, Westchester has the number one property taxes in
Ooh.
the state. The state. I mean, more than the city. You
Gooped.
know, I think it's like 31,000 for my area or something per year just to live here. That doesn't include utilities and mortgage
That's
and
that's
other
the worst
bills.
part. Expensive places and they don't include nothing but
Hmm.
the area.
Yeah,
They
and
like
then
make
it's
it
like I
work.
got yeah, and then I got my network and people I network with who live in Dallas and Vegas, and they're like, yeah, we're paying 1,200 a month for a 4-bedroom apartment.
And
I'm
we
like,
got a wash
what?
machine.
Yeah, we got a washing machine and we have a recreational area where you can grill, go to the pool.
We got
We have a
everything.
gym, and I'm like, you know what? You want to know what $1,200 in New York City looks like?
A peace of
You got
mind.
fucking rats and roaches crawling through the fucking hallway. Excuse my language,
Completely.
and it's just like it's a completely different world. I've now realized that even from here to California,
So
it's just
let's
different.
just burn down New York City. Everybody, I'm starting a petition. Sign it. We're
Oh,
burning it down. We're starting over. Period. So, I guess what made me think of this topic was nipples. Like oddly enough, double standards. I thought of nipples, and that made me think of the topic. A
it's a
woman,
big double standard. Yeah.
yes, a woman posted. I can't remember her name right now. I can't remember the post. Basically, she posted a picture of her like naked in her underwear with her boobs out, but she photoshopped male nipples on her boobs, so Instagram doesn't take it down because Instagram won't allow women to post shirtless without like flagging
Yeah.
it, but men
That shit
can.
is such a headache. You know what it is? Like I've never asked a girl this, but it's like there's a nigga or a guy just in general with his shirt off and you see his nipples. Does that turn you on?
No, it's kind of
And
weird,
that's the weird part
but it
because
will always
if
do
a
it for
guy sees
men.
some tits, it's like you know.
Put my goggles on. Let me see this.
But and that double standard, I'm really conflicted about it because it's like at the same time you already know a lot of niggas is sick, so you don't want I wouldn't want a shorty walking around shirtless, even though she's just trying to be pleasant and enjoy herself.
Mhm.
But it's like, and that's where the double standard comes into play because a lot of people take different positions, and my position is actually trying to stop people from being sick versus, like, yeah, like hell yeah, I want to see some tits when
Yeah.
I walk outside. Like, why not? Like, okay, yeah, I'm,
Like
I'm a big dude.
you also
I got
can't
a little,
control people's like pervertedness, and it's really weird.
yeah.
I feel like maybe like 2 years ago, me and my friend went to the beach, and obviously, men, they wear swim trunks, no shirt. Some men wear shirts, but that's like very rare. And then this woman, she had on her bikini bottoms, but she had no top on, and she was in the ocean, and like all the moms were staring at her like she was crazy, and it's like me and my friend, we were also kind of judging her too. But now when I think about it, it's like, how come we're judging her for doing the same thing the guys are doing? They have on their swim trunks, she has on her bikini bottom, and they both have no top on. But society has like raised us to think this is weird and this is like disgusting and
Yeah.
like slutty. And we're just like, it's hard to change things, especially when they've been in our culture for like hundreds of years. So,
And I agree. And to go back to what we talk about people's pervertedness, right? It's like, I get it. You don't want women being touched in that way. And it seems like the most plausible option. But we're getting to a point where it's like the amount of information that, we digest and,
every
the way
day.
we operate as a human community in general, that is hands down, besides murder, the worst thing you could ever do to a human being. As somebody who has dealt with sexual abuse as a child, I will tell you it destroys you.
I kind of
And
feel like it's worse than murder because you don't have to suffer once you get killed. Obviously, as hard as
yeah,
it seems, you don't have to suffer. But when you have to live with knowing something happened to you, it's kind of
hmm,
worse because you can't just like
absolutely.
shut it off. When you're dead, you're dead. When you're alive and living through it, you feel it.
You know what the solution to this is? Girls just got to get horny when they see man tits. That's it.
No.
I just gotta start getting horny, so
Or
everybody gotta have their
men
fucking
just
shirt
have
over. Men just
to
put their shirts on or something. I don't
get it
know.
together. Men just have to accept
And
what life is.
that's what I agree. Like I tell this to myself all the time. When I have my baby boys, they are going to be the biggest assholes in the world. They're going to love women unconditionally, even the women that shit on them and
Mhm.
abuse them and use their distrust like against them. I'm going to teach them the right way and how to operate because I was raised by a single mother for a short portion of my life, but it resonates with me a lot because no woman should ever feel uncomfortable on this planet. You're the birth givers of the next generations and your daughters. The world doesn't operate without women.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
true. And it's weird. Like, the world, society is built to cater to men, but men don't do anything. Not that
Mm-hmm.
men don't do anything, that obviously they do, but like, they're not contributing the most to this world. Um, don't studies say women are more mature, smarter, they make better decisions at an earlier age than men can? It's like scientific facts that females have an advantage over men, but still society will ignore that for their own benefits, you know?
Yeah. Neurologically, y'all you're much more advanced. Being exposed to social media and just seeing all the different types of people you could see. It's like the world is just much more broad than it's out to be. From
Mm-hmm.
we grew up between the 90s into this generation, so we got to see a bit of both sides. And the like I said, the amount of information that passes through it shows you like this was also common knowledge for years. And a true alpha male is never going to drag down women for their like literally neurological advantages or their genetic advantages or their attraction or their power over another individual. Only weak men do that. And it led me to understand that weak men have ran the world for so long that we are now in such a precarious position as a humans, the human race. Women are over here talking about fuck men. Like we could just turn them niggas into semen cows or some shit. Like I've seen all
Literally.
types of shit, and it's scary because it's like as technology advances, if that really could happen, it's possible. And that's actually a real fear of mine that men go to a point of no return and the
That
women
women just
of
gonna throw
planet
them
Earth
out?
literally just turn on us and farm us for our fucking
Hey,
gametes or some shit. Like
do what you gotta do. I mean, but this
and
could all be changed. It's just about teaching the next generation, like, to get rid of these toxic things, because eventually we'll all be dead, and then there's someone else who has to take over, but we have to fix it.
yeah.
Where, like, a lot of people are not in the process of fixing it. And that's funny that you brought it up because, you were talking about how women clearly have the power and are, like, we were talking about how they're smarter. I noticed that whenever I see a informational post on Instagram or Facebook, it's almost always coming from a woman.
Become
I
a woman.
rarely see any men post anything like that, and not even just like reposting. I rarely see men reposting things that are informational unless like it's the type of people you surround yourself with, you know? But
Yeah. There was a sister that recently, I think it might have been Florida. I think it was like I'm looking for her name right now,
mm-hmm.
but she went in to like a town hall and completely shit on the entire police
Yes, I
commission.
did see that video. And she later was like posting, like maybe a week later, because I had shared it once, that the Kansas City police were like following her. And she
They're
had to,
targeting her.
yep, and she had to post that people to make sure that if you see her, you realize what they're doing, how they're following her. Keep sharing this to make it aware because
Yep.
we don't want another thing like Sandra Bland to happen where they just like take advantage of black women, try to hide it, try to act like we don't see what's happening. So it's
And
crazy.
yeah, and I applaud her for her stand because it's like not
Bravery,
only do
truly.
it's not even bravery because I genuinely believe that this is how we're supposed to operate as black people. We are not you know what it is, we have gotten less for so long. That has been the standard. Once we receive something, even if it's not necessarily beneficial in the long term, we'll take it. And she has completely flipped that notion on the head. She's like, you're not doing your job. You're holding back society. And until you do your job, I'm going to be so unapologetically black, you're going to have to kill me.
Period.
And, Malcolm X is he's one of my idols. And I stand by that. I'll die black, you know? So watching her make that stand as we see, there aren't a lot of black men making these stands.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, and during the civil rights movement, they would kill you. Now they take away your father. They burden your mothers. They put you in such a precarious position that you never have the opportunity to grow as a young man and develop into what you were supposed to be. But women just have this natural instinct to constantly perform at the highest rate, like period, because they want to meet their goals. Like I said, my mom is a self-made millionaire at this point. She has not at not one step of her life that she have somebody to give her a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows me, in comparison to a lot of the black young, like the black male billionaires and how they obtain their wealth, in comparison to female black millionaires, it's usually much more beneficial to, not only their communities, but their families. Every time I see a black millionaire, they're not running a conglomerate. They're usually a rapper who has fucking baby mama problems. I'm not with that shit. Like my pops got 4 baby moms. So it's like watching, my mom operate at this level and seeing, a man who I want to look up to. We haven't had a really good black male role model in America. And I don't even think in our generation. You know,
I
a
think
lot of people like to say
nah.
Barack Obama,
I
maybe
was
LeBron James.
I
Like,
definitely think people like LeBron James, and I don't say for most people, but maybe for the older generation, even though he's not old, Colin Kaepernick, that kind of like made a stance to a lot of people. Um,
yeah,
I can't say. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a female, but I haven't looked up to any men, especially any black men,
in a long time, huh?
ever. I can't say I have ever, to be honest.
And yeah, I'm tired of looking up to basketball players and actors. Like we need a
But I don't
Malcolm.
think that's a
You
bad
know?
thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I like it's just good to see diversity in people's occupations. So
Yeah.
more kids don't have to strive for these like a box of things. An athlete, you're either gonna be an athlete or you're gonna be a musician to make changes in this world. I feel like it's not a good thing for black people to strive for and keep, because they do have an influence over a lot of our generation, but to the people who are actually making moves, who can do things, they look like a joke. They'll like
Yeah.
stick to playing the sport, stick to singing, because that's what you're supposed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
even though as the younger generation, we like to see people using their unconventional platform to do something else. The higher ups don't look at that as like inspiring. They look at it as childish. Like, mind your business, stay in a child's place. So it's kind of
And
weird.
that's gonna change.
It is.
It's not gonna happen in our generation, but I could definitely say our kids will have that, that standing, especially from where we are socially. It's not acceptable anymore to be, that type of individual. And while we might see the death of racism in our lifetime, we might. I'll give it another 100 years. I give it another 100 years.
So
Yeah.
then, not in our lifetime,
Shit,
unless
one
you're
of us gonna
fortunate
live up.
enough to live to 120. I
Yeah,
don't
eat your
think
avocados.
eat your avocados. I don't think we'll see that. I don't ever see racism ending. To be honest, I hope it will be on a much smaller scale, but I don't see it ending
Hmm.
ever.
And I think it all starts with white people because I'm kind of a historian in a sense, and I've noticed that hate has always been a part of white culture, and people will take offense to this, but The development of Europe didn't happen through peace treaties and trade. It happened through war and trade. You
Mm.
know, just like any major civilization today. But the only difference is that white people were warring with other white people, and that's when those stereotypes and these people, and it went from a German hating an Italian guy to an entire race of people being put down and destroyed by somebody who when they die is gonna have the same bone structure as you. And
Period.
they did this to Asians, they did it to Southeast Asians, Middle Eastern people, black people, shit, and they even do it to their own people. They Think about this. Adolf Hitler drove white people out of Europe, Jews.
It's all violence, and it's
Yeah,
hatred that's so unnecessary. We're all the same. You're
highly
making
primitive.
yourself different in your eyes when you're really not. It's
you know
weird.
and
Excuse
and
the
that's and
voice.
no, it's cool. And that's why I'm really big on history, because you can go back and look at war generals throughout history, and there have been war generals throughout history that have united people instead of killing everybody
Mhm.
and sickening everybody, but they were still able to take their land. Like the great Mongol leader, I forgot his name, the the, the only Mongol leader that's ever really talked about in history, literally took over almost all of Asia, half of Europe, and the only time he had to drop a body was during a siege. People actually liked his leadership skills. And that goes to show that, the people running the planet right now, we're not supposed to be running the planet. And it's kind of an asshole thing to say, but if you really look at,
Truly.
how they got here, it was very primitive. We could have developed technology in the same way. And shit, if we're being honest, women could have possibly been, the key to a better society. Because yeah, I've always been able to meet, or get out of, my female counterparts what I can't get out of male counterparts, and that's camaraderie on, a much broader scale. It's not like, hey, let's just get this done. There's an attention to detail that only like somebody who could be a mother could have. You
Mhm.
feel me? Like only like in all the great women leaders that I've met share that mindset. You know, as well. Every time I met a great male or a decent male leader, it's always I have to be on top. I have to be number one. Forget the village. It's about what I can do. It's always I instead of we, and that disconnect is really detrimental. And I wanted to go back into talking about women and how beneficial they are to society. Women have saved my life, like on countless occasions. I can't name one time my bro has had my back in the way one of my female friends have had my back.
I
You
can't
know?
say the same thing, but I also haven't had a lot of male friends in my life, but
Yeah.
I also haven't had a male friend that lasted more than the situation that I was in. So like if I'm going to school, I'm gonna have this male friend for while I'm at school, but soon as I'm not in school, I will never hear from that person again. That
Mm-hmm.
type of situation, and I think men just have a lack of loyalty to women, regardless of all that women do for them, and
Yeah.
it's
And that all
really
starts with the
rare.
father. That all starts with the men in their life. I was fortunate enough to see a man who walked out of my life at an early age and see how he treated all the women he had in his life. And then have my stepfather. My stepfather is quite literally my biggest role model. You know, Not idol, but role model. Because without my father, like that's my father, and without him, I wouldn't be the young man I am today. I'd probably be some misogynistic ass nigga who thinks that I'm the shit, even though in reality I'm fat, I'm musty, whatever. Like I
Oh,
could be one of those niggas. You feel me? I could have easily been
listen.
one of those niggas. I'm not saying because I'm not. You feel me? You, you see so many of these niggas out here who be like, yeah, my game crazy, like ah. And then when it
So
comes
one track
time to
minded, only worry about
yeah,
themselves and how they look in a
hmm
situation rather than overall what's gonna happen because of a choice you made or the people you
yeah.
surround yourself with.
And it's sick because that's another reason why I can't have a lot of male friends, because they're too reliant on others' opinions. I can never do that shit. I'm here to, like, not only am I here to show out, I'm here to be independent on another scale. So I could never, you know, ask somebody to kiss my ass and help me, figure out a situation. I have to depend on myself. And that's something I can't say for a lot of guys. And that's
And
why a lot of guys don't discover themselves.
is
Because they're
that
too
something
reliant.
that you would accredit your female figures in your life to? Like they instill that within you. For myself, I feel like growing up, even though my mom, she's a single mother and my father is in my life, but primarily my mother takes care of me financially. So, like growing
Mm-hmm.
up, so I feel like, and even just with teachers, not necessarily because I have one brother, but he's way older, and I wasn't raised with him. But at least for like teachers around me, I feel like they always put more pressure on my peers, my female peers, and myself. Like women and men, they don't pressure boys enough to be serious about their life
I agree.
until it's like too late. So
Yeah.
we see a whole bunch of kids, especially in our community, growing up to be like gangbangers or hanging out with the wrong types of people. And that's when people want to step in. But from the beginning, as a female, I feel like I've always been, hey, you should work hard at this so you can become this and this and that. And I feel like I've never heard that be said to one of my male peers. Like it's always like
And
we gotta catch you before it's too late. Like at the very end,
yeah.
instead of instilling
Mm-hmm.
that within them from the very beginning.
Yes, and I do accredit, the female role models I've had in my life for even the professional I am today, primarily because it's like, you know, the attention to detail that I acquired wasn't necessarily through my dad. My dad is a very straightforward ass nigga. I'm much more meticulous. Like I said, I'm my mother's child. And
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely accredit the women in my life to who I am today. And I mean the women I've not only that I've got the pleasure of to know and grow up with, but even, in past relationships and shit. Cause it was like, I obviously when you're fresh and you start in relationships, you don't really know what you're doing. You make a lot of dumb decisions and you fuck up. I'm not gonna lie, in high school I was the biggest fuck up ever, you know? And it taught me how to respect women, and that, that the first step for me was actually objectifying. I used to think that I had to be this ultimate sex figure. I had to do this to her, and then she would do it back for me. In reality, it was like, nah, bro. It's like, yeah, reciprocation is a part of it, but a connection is required. You can't just go around messing with any chick. You can't, like, energies are very real. And I recognized that, me mixing energies with people I wasn't supposed to be mixing energies with was, not only hurting me but hurting them. In reality, she should have just been my friend, and we had no business having a sexual relationship, essentially. Like those, like that's the level of detail I'm talking about when I talk about, my care and my respect for women, because you can't get that out of anybody else. You can't really go through growth without, any form of female figure. Like my mom, very vital role in my professional, mindset. She is somebody who went from secretary to one of the chief of staffs at Lehman College.
As she
It's like,
should. Clap it up for
so
her.
yeah. I,
Clap it up for her.
she property owner. I'm doing not right now. Property owner, four beautiful children, like, she started from, and she grew up in the crack era, you know, strung out parents. My grandfather died from AIDS. Like, that's how real it was. And to see her go from, there where she was taking care of everybody and herself to where she is now, shit. I ain't seen it. I ain't seen a nigga do that yet. Like, I'm gonna be real, I haven't. And if they did, they're probably dead, because that's exactly what the opposition wants, you know? And and I feel as if that's the double standard, that doesn't get spoken on. When, like, as much women go through so much shit, but goddamn, when a beautiful mind speaks and it's a woman, everyone listens. And that's
That's
truth.
true. That
When
is
a man
true.
does it, they're a target. And not white men, a black man. A black man becomes a target when they do that shit. That's why Malcolm got killed. That's why Martin got killed. You feel me? They didn't kill Rosa. Am I lying? Did they
They
kill
didn't, but that was not funny to think about.
like that's real
They
shit, you
didn't kill
know?
Rosa. They really
They didn't
did.
kill Rosa.
But I think her position, I don't want to say it was less, but it wasn't on the same scale as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, at least in the limelight. Where
Yeah, you could look at it that way, but I generally see, everybody's contribution as equal because you can't discount
to
what
be
Rosa
honest, you
did. She could
can't
have
discount
easily
it.
gotten killed for that.
I'm just saying the way media has portrayed it, they don't want you to think that her position is as impactful. Therefore,
Mm-hmm.
I mean not that it's not impactful. I also don't like that. You know, growing up, you learn about like 10 people. Like in elementary school and middle school, you learn about the same 10 black people all your life for like that 1 month, February, and then everything else we have to learn for ourselves. So
Mm-hmm. It's stupid as hell, and they tell us all this stuff. They don't talk about how Central Park is where it is today. They don't talk about Tulsa. They don't talk about how we've had other black men run for president in the past, and they were targets of assassination, etc. Those are the things that we don't learn in this white country, and like I said, that's another double standard, or AKA just racism in general. So, but like
racism is a double standard, pretty much.
yeah, quite, yeah, it's the double standard. It
It's
is
the
it
biggest
is the gold
one.
standard, yeah, because it's far beyond white people at this point. It's like I've had problems with Han Chinese people, for fucking crying out loud, Mexicans, just for being black. Like, bro, like I could
I
bring more to the table
agree.
than so many people.
This is
And it's like,
the awkwardness of my life. So my boyfriend is Mexican, and
mm-hmm,
obviously I feel very comfortable around him. He's my boyfriend, and then we discuss. He lives in like Jackson Heights, that area. It's really diverse. It's a lot of Asian and Hispanic people in that area. But for myself, I never see someone who is black. So whenever I'm there alone or like walking to his place or leaving, I feel uncomfortable because I said this all the time to him. I find it so weird that black and Mexican people, they have this underlying uncomfortability with each other, and they're like the most racist towards each other when they basically have the most similar history in America, and they
mm-hmm,
should be the two people getting along. I mean, it
black and
works,
Hispanic people in general.
but it works in California. That's the weirdest part.
Excellent.
I always see black people and Mexican people get along in California on the West Coast, but in New
Yeah.
York City, it's always awkward, and I don't
Yep.
understand it. And it's
And I
just
feel that
like that has
awkwardness
to change.
every day. I bike a lot, you know that,
Mhm.
and a good amount of community of Southern American, Mexican, Central American, and yeah, while there is no racism or ill will, my experience in the past, I reflect on my relationships with these people, but on my from my experience in the past with Mexican people, and it's like, whoa, it's much different. Like I
Completely.
remember, like I can't even walk into the fucking bodega, type shit, and I'm a kid. It's like, what the fuck you think I'm gonna do? I'm just here to get my fucking bacon, egg, and cheese and head out. Like can't even walk into the bodega like down the block from my crib in Harlem because I'm black. Like that was one of the weirdest things I ever went through because I grew up. I'm Hispanic. Like I'm Puerto Rican and Haitian. So I always had a connection with Hispanic people, but specifically with Mexican people. Nah, bro. Be like, what
It's
you doing in here?
it's the weirdest thing ever. It's like we're basically brothers from another mother, like type of situation when it comes to like
Yeah.
the situations America has faced upon us. But it's just so
So if
uncomfortable.
anything, we got to be more connected, and
You got to figure it
that
out.
and you know how that starts with independence and really realize what unification is, and it's not being united under a banner, but it's a cultural thing,
Mhm.
and we'll get there, and that's exactly what the racist opposition this they don't want us to see us together. Like that's they would die before they want to see that shit. But back to you.
Um, I think our next like transition would be something. I mean, not lighter than the double standard and racism, but like a different topic. And it, for me at least, is body shaming, and
Yeah.
that's very different between men and women. So I've seen
Believe it or not, nah. It's the
maybe
I
not
don't
the
think so.
person going through it, but how they're looked at. At least to me, it seems different. Someone, someone who is bigger, a bigger female versus a bigger man. I feel like society as a whole is more accepting to a bigger man,
And
and it may
actually,
just
I
be
agree.
me. It may just be me and what I've been around, but I hate to see a bigger woman. Let's say Lizzo. I know she's like the universal example right now, but every time I see
Yeah.
Lizzo post stuff, and every time Shade Room, which is a whole different topic, the most toxic place on earth, but we all need it.
Awful.
Every time I see them repost it, there's a whole bunch of negativity in her comments, and it's just
Hmm.
like you would never do this for someone who is like 5 sizes smaller, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. How come
Um,
she
I
can't
noticed
twerk?
something about this, by the way,
Would you notice?
about bigger people. So the natural human response to seeing somebody overweight is lose some weight, nigga. You feel me?
It's
But
not that
that
simple.
has to change. But like that's just very watered down. That's really what it is at heart. But that in the human psyche, we are not supposed to be that big. So when they see somebody that big, their immediate thing is to talk about it. But it's they need to reflect in a better manner than just go lose some weight, you fat ass nigga. Like that's awful.
That's
Like I grew up
OD.
I was a really big kid growing up. I am 6'3", 250 pounds. By no means am I a small guy, right? But I'm cut. So it's like I wasn't like that when I was younger
But
though.
if
I was a
you see
chubbier,
a
bigger
girl,
kid. I'm not gonna judge her if she's bigger. I'm gonna just say, hey, I think that you should try and go in the right direction, the
maybe
right step,
you
because
not,
I did the same.
maybe you won't, but if someone same size as you, 6'3", 200 something pounds, a woman, a woman like that, if someone else saw her, they're gonna judge her. They're gonna
Yeah,
judge her for who
absolutely, and
she
it
is.
sucks.
But for you, they're gonna be like, oh, this is just a good guy. You know, he's tall. He's like genetics is on his side. That's how they're gonna think. But for her, it's like she's a weirdo. Like, why can't women and men be tall and not be weirded out? I had a friend in elementary school, middle school. I talked to her from time to time, but she's always been taller, and people would call her Giraffe. And I was like, but this guy is the same height as her, and all of you guys think he's amazing. Like, he's a star. Like, her genetics make her tall. That's not something she can control, obviously. And she's beautiful. I don't get it.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm kind of the wrong person to have this conversation with because I see all women as precious and I actually have no type. So it makes my life a little awkward at
But I think
times.
you're
But
like the most perfect person to talk to about this
because I'm like that.
because of your way of thinking. So you can
Yeah.
see when someone else is doing it, even though you wouldn't do
Hmm.
it yourself.
Yeah. And it's the wrong way to go about it, guys. You don't the whole body shaming shit pisses me off because what type of insult is you're fat? I'm like, nigga, we all got fat in our bodies, and it's all proportional and based on our genetics. So the fact that you are trying to decrease somebody based on their genetic makeup is quite literally the most sickening thing you can do to a human being. I'd much rather have you shit on someone's personality than talk about their body. Like it
Because some
doesn't
people are
really,
just bad people,
yeah,
and we
like
don't want to talk about it. We just ignore
that's what
it.
really matters, the soul more than anything, right? Kyra, and it never gets talked about. It
Never.
never gets talked
I feel
about.
like when you get older, people will have conversations with you about how you present yourself. Like as I got older, I started to realize like, wow, Kyrie, you're really mean, like for no reason, and it wasn't like
No
intentional.
way.
Like I'm so unnecessarily sarcastic and
Bro, you're a
blunt.
sweetheart, bro.
Okay, maybe now, but if you would have met me,
I've had conversations with you in the past, and that blunt, like,
but
we
not
speak the same
long ago.
language.
It's like
Oh, okay.
not long ago, but like I was like really like I'm gonna just say what's on my mind, but I'm just saying it as a joke. So I'm very like a joking person. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I say things and people take it to heart, and I'm just like I meant what I said, but I ain't mean it for you to get mad about it. So I realized I have to change who I am. And I was like really judgmental, and that's like one of the things I get from my family that I'm not proud of. But I think that has affected my life too. And
Yeah.
along with body shaming, I think acne is something I really see. Like that's I would consider a part of body shaming, a difference for men and women, because I've seen guys with like horrible acne still pulling girls, and it's like whatever. But as soon
Yeah.
as a guy sees a girl with acne, it's like, ugh, you don't take care of your skin. Like, what's wrong with you? You look gross. Or wear some makeup. It's that type
And
of
that goes back
situation.
to weak men running the world.
Yeah, I
It
don't.
goes
But
exactly back
it's
to that.
also
That's a weak-minded man.
it's
Like,
also the type of person a woman is who would do it alongside of them. Like, why are you seeking validation from this person who
mm-hmm.
needs you? Like, I just don't get it. Any type of body shaming, whether it's your hair, your face, your body, just I don't get it. Especially, I just don't feel like why we put so much pressure on women and we're not applying the same pressure to men. I've seen men not get haircuts, still bad girls, but if my box braids are like a little too old, I'm gonna get looked at crazy.
Yeah, I could walk into the function like this
And people will
and
still
go home with
talk
a
to
shorty.
you and they will
Yeah.
still be okay with it. But if you see me with like a loose track or like it's a whole bush on top of my head, someone's gonna be like, let's not talk to her. Clearly, she don't have her life together. But he can
And
go
that's
without a
ass,
haircut.
right? And in a weird way, it's like it's very reflective of how we talk about women being so, influential in human history. That actually just might be a human reaction. Like, because women are supposed to be, these perfect individuals, which I think is bullshit because we all have our issues. But I definitely see a lot of men put women on a pedestal, but for all the wrong reasons. Put
All the
humans
wrong
in
reasons.
general, all the wrong
And
reasons.
women will accept men for who they are most of the time, more often than
Yep,
less.
I was just saying that to myself. I'd be like, "Yo, bro, it'd be Billy Bob over here with
Billy
with
Bob.
the with the with the nasty stench, and he don't brush his teeth twice a fucking day and shit.
But he's
And
good. He take care of his
yeah, he's
family.
good with his dating life.
He's doing what he got to do, and I'm gonna accept that. But if I'm doing the same thing and I don't look too good doing it, and one thing I see, I don't have children, obviously, but I see a lot of women on Instagram, and they're so proud of their bodies after giving birth, where they don't feel like they have to work out immediately to snap back, to be thin
But
again.
that pisses me off, believe it or not, because you're supposed to work out in general, bozo. I tell this to people all the time. I don't care if you're 5'3",
It's
90
not about
pounds.
working out. Some people want you to work out at a certain pace to get back to where you are. It's about taking your time
Yeah,
and being comfortable in your body. You should never feel like
agreed.
I have to do this by this time so other people can be like, "Oh, she gets it together fast." You know? Like
Yeah,
people are afraid to be real about their situations. Nobody is going to snap back that fast for no reason at all. You're supposed to
and
move at your pace, your own pace.
I definitely see that, right? And this could definitely be a factor of the human race being so young. Like, we are still fairly young in our little universe, and that could definitely play a factor. 1,000 years from now, the mindset could be completely different. You
Mm.
know, that's how like think about it. We went from sticks and stones to like actually building stuff, witchcraft, etc. To now it's like we live in a world combined where technology is magic. 1,000 years ago, if I pulled out my fucking iPhone or show somebody what a hard drive was or something, they'd be like, "Kill that nigga."
He's
Like,
learning too much. He's enhancing.
Not even that. They'll be like, that nigga is the devil. Okay.
That is not godlike.
Yeah, you feel me?
What is science? Throw it out. That type of
And
situation.
yeah, for sure. And a lot of the difficulties we face are literally because of prematurity in our human race. And it sucks that men can't be better, and it sucks that women gotta go through so much, but we will have a point in human history where gender will be genderless, will be casteless. We won't have to rely on money for validation, or and we can all just be ourselves. One day the world will be like that. The only way it won't be like that is we start fucking killing each other and blowing each other up over money.
No, the
yeah,
only way it won't be like that is if we don't take care of our planet and this earth blows up in a few years.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Exactly. There's so many factors, and ridiculous. the biggest roadblock that's actually problematic to human beings is negativity. Hands down, it's the biggest human problem. It's the biggest problem we face as a planet, right? And I'm not talking like, oh yeah, I don't think they could do that. It's like, fuck those people. I don't even know why we're gonna say fuck those people, but fuck those people. You feel me?
Everyone's negative Nancy at least once.
Yeah, and that's gonna change. We're gonna move away from she's a woman or he's a man. They gotta act a certain way. We will move away from that shit. Like they're a woman, etc. You know what I mean when I say it. I'm crying. You gotta be.
She's a woman.
Like like shit like that. It's like that's so dumb. Like it's such a small way to think because everybody brings something to the table. Mm-hmm. I work in esports. I work in one of the fastest growing industries in the world. And I'm gonna tell you
something that no one would ever see coming 50 years ago. They wouldn't even take it serious.
Not at all, right?
But so many and you wouldn't know why.
Mm-hmm. And you know why esports and gaming is so successful? Because we don't brand each other. Shit, you see how in sports, you want to know why the WNBA is so lowly thought of? It's not because of fucking promotion and sponsors. It's because there's a negative notion surrounding female athletes, like they can't compete at the same level as men, and et cetera, things like that.
When I be like, say WNBA is actually kind of like more entertaining. But because the money is in male sports, regular NBA gets more recognition.
Yeah, like I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I'm a hooper, right? So it's like I pop out to all types of games, and I'm gonna tell you, every time I watch girls play, I enjoy it more. It's less predictable. There might be that one girl on the court who, look, you should watch.
That's the weird thing. I'm not the only sport I really got invested into was football. And I used to play basketball in elementary school, but I never watched it. And it was just weird.
Talking about double standards, it's a really good way to, stop all the bullshit with sexism. Y'all gotta start watching sports. Y'all just got to. Everybody gotta watch sports, especially women's sports.
Maybe
I guarantee you. Once we get more female advocates outside of, the realm of sports advocating for female sports, we'll start to see a major change, especially if that person is influential.
I feel like everybody shouldn't just watch sports if you're not into sports. Don't force yourself to be into something.
Oh, obviously not. Yeah.
Definitely, if you are going to watch sports, be equal across the board and watch all sports, Yep. A lot of people, I think, soccer has definitely changed that because people will go.
Women's soccer is way better than men's soccer.
Nobody even pay attention to men's soccer. I don't even know why they still play at this point. But
look, don't do that.
Maybe I'm kidding, but still, everyone will go hard for women in soccer because they help them win. But why should we have to win for you to notice us? Like I guarantee you that what's the women's basketball team for New York?
New York, the Liberty, yeah.
Liberties could win.
Yo, shout out Sabrina. You know the vibes. She about to get buckets this year.
Me confused.
Yeah. She's one of the best basketball players in the world, pretty much. She's won everything from middle school to college. Yeah, like
Mm,
she's elite,
if
a
the
high level
Liberties,
player.
if the Liberties were to win a championship, you would hear a lot of noise about it from New York City. But if the Nets or the Knicks would, it would over it would overturn everything. And I don't even think the Liberties
Well,
have a bad record
come on.
compared to the Knicks. I mean,
The
obviously,
Liberty is a playoff team. You feel me? But if the Knicks win a championship, the whole world's gonna fucking blow up
but
because the
that's
Knicks just
different
suck.
because the Knicks have been bad all the whole time for basically the past 20 years. But it makes more of an impact, even though, as you said the Liberties is a playoff team.
Yeah.
So Liberties have been killing it like all these years, even when they like have losses. Everybody has losses. They've been killing it all these years, and if they were to win a championship, the world would still not care, even though they put all this work in. But compared to a different team, like let's say the Yankees, how they have 27 rings, and even though they haven't won one in a long time, they're still on a winning streak, much like how the Liberties were. People would celebrate that, but not the same for the women's sports. So I
And
just,
that all goes back to the double standard of
yeah.
sexism. And you know, there are, from my experience with, just watching sports, I've never had, a cue of boredom watching men or women's sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to see, them be at such a disadvantage is bullshit, because it's like I've literally, like, some of these chicks out here get buckets. I'm talking like these guys, even some pros wouldn't be able to compete with these women. And I'm talking like from soccer to basketball, right? And they just don't get the recognition that they fucking deserve. And it's all because of this weak ass mindset that men have to be in control of everything. It's like it's kind of sad, you know. Like like I'll be on the phone. I'm getting a little personal here. I'll be on the phone with my pops, and he's like, you got to make sure she's this way and that way. I'm like, yo, how about I just meet a shorty that makes me feel good, and whatever she does
Just be
is what she
happy.
does, you
Period.
know? Like, you talking about, oh, this WAP, this and that. I'm like, bro, you're not about to sit here and talk to me about women trying to express their sexuality when you got 4 baby fucking mamas. You done expressed enough, nigga. You feel me?
That's
Like,
another thing. The whole dating thing, if women have a lot of bodies, they're sluts. If men have a lot of bodies,
they're the man.
they doing it right. It's just
And
we
it's
need to
it's
stop
difficult for
that.
me, because as you know, I like to stay on equal planes. So it's
Yeah.
like I've beat myself up about having too many fucking bodies, and I'll tell the bros this. They be like, "Nigga, are you retarded?" I'll be like, "No, I just don't think that I should have as many bodies as I have." And niggas be like, yeah, you're dumb."
The
I'm
thing
like,
for
"Nah,
me,
bro."
I don't think men or women should be called sluts. Like how you say, if you would say, I'm tired
Yeah,
of
but
people
if you're
calling
gonna get
women
called a slut, it
sluts.
gotta be like the cool slut. You feel me? You can't be like, you're a fucking slut. You
Yeah,
know?
like you're a floozy. You just giving your body to everyone. I just think
Yeah.
you should leave it alone. Like everybody can have as many partners as they like. It's their body. We shouldn't judge them equally negatively.
Just be
We should just
safe.
leave it alone. Like do you? Oh, a fly.
Yeah. The biggest problem I have with hold up.
I'm weak. You are
The big
determined.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have with this whole body thing is, like, most of the time the niggas who get mad at shorties for having a bunch of bodies, it's because she straight up tells that nigga, you ain't please me. Like, I have experience. You
Ooh.
feel me? And niggas don't like to admit that. I've never been through that. And the first time, like, I almost got close to that, I saw why these weak ass niggas started acting the way they were acting. Because they're just being too impulsive.
It
But
hurts
you
their
wanna know,
pride.
yeah, like to hop on that conversation about sex is like the best way to get better at sex is just listen to your body. You know, most niggas just fucking hump away, and it's like, nah, bro.
I'm weak.
Pay attention to what you're feeling, right? It's just like you might be connected with shorty in a way you even know. Like I've come with a shorty simultaneously before,
Hey,
type
this is
shit,
a
right?
clean podcast. Nah, it's
Excuse
not
me, so I'm
clean, but
sorry.
like relax.
Yeah, be PG-13. I'm saying, like, we have, reached a certain point, but it's like it's euphoric when you actually understand what you're doing. In order to be a better man, you have to pay attention to detail. You have to be willing to know that you're sometimes wrong. And once you get to that point, that's how you excel. Like I am 20 years old and I have a salary. I'm in college working 2 jobs.
As you
And
should.
you don't, and I didn't get these jobs just based off, let me go fill out these applications. But I just pay attention to detail. I understand my environment and what I'm getting myself into. And
And
from there,
I'm
you
the
develop a
opposite.
business sense. I'm crying.
But that's also a thing. I think people should just accept people in their situations.
Yeah.
We shouldn't judge.
Because there was a point in time where Steve Jobs fucking crying out loud. Rest in peace, Steve Jobs. But there was a point in time where he was not rich. There's a point in time where he's living in his fucking girlfriend. He's sleeping on his ex's couch or some shit, trying to start Apple, and nobody got him. Shit, 20 years later, I'm one of the richest men in the world now. Everybody's on my back. Like, you don't
That's how
know.
life works. Money rules.
Yeah, right? Like Oprah Winfrey. Everybody was racist as fuck to her in the 80s. Now everybody loves Oprah. You feel me?
It's very weird.
And that goes to show that when you get power, that comes a lot of people who drag you down looking for a handout. And the best way to combat people like that is continue to go on your path. Don't worry about proving yourself. And that's how you get rid of double standard when it comes to men and women. Men need to stop looking to prove to other people what they are capable of and just prove it to yourself. Yeah, you could get the attention, but guess what? I know plenty of rich people who are gonna die fucking miserable because they spent their whole life trying to prove up to other motherfuckers. Simple.
Oof.
It's about the riches, not the riches. You feel me?
Okay.
That's why I was up here. Like,
He's spitting,
but people don't pay attention to that.
He give me all knowledge.
I'm crying.
Spitting. So,
Thank you.
I like to end my podcast with a would you rather,
Mm-hmm.
but I like to look them up on the spot. So, what do you think our would you rather topic should be about?
Like, surprise me. I told you this earlier. Surprise me.
Surprise.
Yeah. Oh man. I can't wait to look back at this.
While I like look for it, I also saw one, like a message where like a female. I was looking at pictures last night, like just to see what we could talk about double standards, and it was about a female texting a friend, like a male friend, hey, do you want to hang out and come over? And he was like, sure. And then it was like showing the opposite side of it, of a male friend asking his male friend, hey, do you want to come over? And he was like, oh, that's mad gay. You know? And it's weird. But that also has to do with toxic masculinity and being a homophobe and not admitting it. But,
And this goes back to saying all homophobic people are just gay, bro. And they just can't accept that part of themselves. Or they're bisexual or pansexual, whatever. They just can't accept that side of themselves. And that's what they do. Like, I literally grew up in the hood around a bunch of, like, I'll never forget, like, I got called gay as a kid, right? For no fucking reason, right? I was just an emotional ass kid. The same nigga who called me gay, guess what?
He's gay?
No, he's gay. He got exposed for sucking, you know. Yeah.
You just gotta be into what you into.
Like, dude, like, how you gonna do that? Like, and you know, that's the first time I realized if you're homophobic, you probably got something hiding in the closet. Like, straight up. So to all my guys out there, if you're homophobic, bro, go look in the mirror, because chances are you're not looking in the right mirror. You feel me? You got the rose-colored glasses on. You got the shades on.
Sometimes I do feel bad for people. It depends on how old you are. I think it's a generational thing too. So
this is a progression thing. I stopped that generational shit a long time ago because there was somebody in our generation, generations before us, thinking the way we thought. It just wasn't socially, you know, acceptable yet, right? It just wasn't there, and that's the problem. It's idiocy. People are just being dumb. They don't want to choose the right side.
Okay, so you being the intellectual guest today, the question is, would you rather lose your ability to read or your ability to speak? I would rather lose my ability to read.
Really?
Because anyone can tell me something informational and then I'd be able to speak on it. For me personally, I don't read, and that's not to say that people shouldn't read, but reading has never been like a fun thing for me.
Yeah.
So I don't enjoy reading. The only time you're really gonna catch me reading is if I have to do it for school, and that's like a 70-30 chance that I'm
Let me point something out for you real quick. So you see how you talk to me right now?
Mm-hmm.
How you have certain, cadences and cues in the way you talk. You don't get that without reading.
I don't think that's true.
Actually, it's not true, but the nuances of language are acquired through literature, right? So think about it
Mm-hmm.
like this. So what if Malcolm could never talk, but he was one hell of a writer? He wouldn't have the same impact.
Say it again.
So let's say Malcolm couldn't talk, right? Malcolm X couldn't talk,
Mm-hmm.
right? But his ability to, convey a message through words was so powerful, just like in his speeches.
He wouldn't have the same impact because people don't read.
But I'm saying, what if he was writing for somebody else? His words in somebody else's mouth. You don't think the impact would be the same?
No.
You don't think so?
If Malcolm X wrote his speeches and then had someone else read them to a crowd, it would not hit the same because you don't know how much power that person has.
No, actually, I could agree with that.
But that's going against what you said. You said you don't want to speak.
I'm still saying I wouldn't speak, like generally speaking, because I like to read and shit. You feel me? Like I got it's fine. I don't need to talk. I actually doing myself a favor. People do listen though. It's just like that's a tough one. That's actually a really tough one because I wouldn't know how to go about that if I'm being completely honest with you.
That was actually really easy for me to answer.
Like shit, you got it all the way. I'm just like,
Like not even like, even if I was a reader, I think I would still rather lose the ability to read because I think when you're hearing someone and you can feel their emotion or you're like truly learning, sometimes word of mouth sticks in your head like more than somebody reading you something on a piece of paper.
Yeah, you're right.
So I definitely
that's
will
another
always
thing.
choose that.
If I couldn't speak, I couldn't spit game either.
Like you can't have all your relationships through text, I mean, maybe if they live far away, you send them a letter, but it's not going to hit the same rather than you saying it.
Yeah, like I want to throw a situation because it's hilarious, but I'm gonna leave that for later.
I'm weak. We could do another one.
You said people want to hold the phone. I'm crying. All right, next question.
I don't understand this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Would you rather have one real get out of jail free card or a key that opens any door? I don't understand.
The key, like shit.
I can't tell if we're talking about a literal door.
I could like a key that opens any door. Like when I'm thinking about that, I'm like, all right, so how do I become the president at like 20 or some shit? That's what I'm thinking. Like if I could get a get out of jail free card right now, I could go shoplifting, just call my lawyer, and I'll get the charges dropped type shit. Like,
but you would need the. You're saying you could do that without having the get out of jail free card?
Yeah, I don't need that shit. Of course, obviously, I'm not gonna be killing nobody and robbing shit, like, or raping nobody.
But what if
you
do? What if that happens? You can't get off that easy.
I would if I kill somebody or sexually assault someone, I'm not asking to get out of jail. Keep my ass in there. You crazy?
That's so crazy. You know what? I should have asked you all about that. I watched it's a documentary, a docu-series on Amazon about kids who went to prison, and in 2012 they made a law where any minor who got the life sentence, that's considered unconstitutional. So all their cases have to be like looked over in turn. And so a kid had killed one of his friends. He was about like 14. He killed one of his best friends, and he says it was an accident, and he's hoping to not get life anymore. They didn't show like the end result, but basically he was trying to appeal the case, trying to get less time, because he understands he should be in jail because he obviously killed her, but he doesn't think he should have a life sentence, and so does his family. But the parents of the person who he killed are like, why would we let him out? He needs to be in there for his whole life. And I don't know. It was kind of
He
like
was
a
a
moral
child
thing.
when it happened.
Yes, he was a child, and it wasn't on purpose. And it's like, just because you're...
And he got a murder charge instead of manslaughter?
I don't know what it was. It was murder.
But if you kill somebody by accident, it's not necessarily murder.
But in the beginning, he never said it was by accident. Before, he couldn't really talk about it. So, and either way, it was still murder. Like, she was still dead. So, her parents are like, if our daughter got a life sentence for death, then he should get a life sentence in jail. And it just made me think, like, yes, I understood where the parents are coming from, but I do also understand where the killer is coming from, how whatever happened wasn't intentional, but also is keeping him in jail all his life going to change anything? Is it going to do anything? It's just preventing him from growing up. You're not the same person you were at 14 as you are as a 24-year-old.
Agreed.
So it was kind of weird, but
yeah, that
once I find the name of it, I would definitely let you know, because I think you would love it. And it's just...
put me on. But yeah, that get out of jail free card. No, I'm not taking that. Like,
I think I would take the get out of jail free card.
So if you had the opportunity to open any door, I'm talking like you could walk through the Rothschild's vault and just shitting me. You're not doing it?
I want the get out of jail free card. I want to rob. I want to rob. I want money.
It better be a big score.
It doesn't matter. I could do the biggest thing ever. Maybe steal the Mona Lisa.
We're hang it up right next to you.
And then get that jail free card. So, I mean, I wouldn't steal that. I would do something that's easier to, like, you know, get your money worth.
Steal a couple Basquiat's, you feel me?
No, you shouldn't steal art, because once you steal art, you're going to have to sell it or give it to someone to get your money back, and that's how you get caught. I don't know. Off topic, but this was great.
Yeah, this was awesome. I needed this.
Thanks for coming on.
It definitely sobered me up for sure. Thank you.
It definitely got you off that cannabis tea real quick. And
oh no, the cannabis tea's still there. I'm looking at my couch right now, like,
Yes, but this is great. Just wave. Bye bye, guys.
See you guys. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening. Peace.